And a pleasant good evening to everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay. My name is Keith Williams. I'm the host of The Works, where anything goes and just about everything goes. If you have a story to tell, you got a business, a nonprofit, whatever your taste is, we talk about it here on The Works. And so we have Kim Sorrelle as our guest today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to talking to you, Keith. I love your show. Everyone should have it on their top 10 of their podcast list and listen to you all the time.
Oh, I'm flattered.
Well, it's true. It's so good.
So Kim, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm an entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 18 years old, right out of high school. I am a mother of 5, a grandmother of 11. I run a nonprofit organization. I am a writer, a speaker, do a couple things. I've coached basketball, volleyball, and but the thing that is nearest and dearest to my heart now, the thing that I'm very passionate about is that I dedicated a year to figuring out the true meaning of love, and I found it. And I'm excited about what I found. It changed my life, and I believe it's going to change the world.
I'm very intrigued, about the last thing that you said. Can you go into, further detail about that?
Sure. Yeah. So a few years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And 4 months later, my husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he passed away 6 weeks after that. And I was in love with that man. I loved him so much. And it made me, though, question after losing him and losing what I thought my future was and having to reinvent and figuring out now what is it that I'm going to do. Uh, it made me question love, the real meaning of love, and if I was doing it right. It seems to be the secret, right? This mystery that surrounds love. There are so many songs written about it. You can't help but turn on the radio and there's going to be a song about love, or there's going to be movies about love or TV shows or whatever it is. But sort of this mystery about what is it really? People have tried to define it for ever and have had a hard time coming up with a real definition, and people kind of argue over what it is and is it different depending on who you love and all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to figure it out. And so I took this 2,000-year-old poem that you hear at a lot of weddings, you hear at a lot of different things. Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast. And I decided I would take one word a month and figure out, well, what is love that is patient? What is love that is kind? And so I was mainly living in Haiti when I was working on it, which I think kind of gave it a whole different flair. But the things that I found out about love rocked my world. It blew my mind. Things that I thought I knew what love was, and until I went on this journey and figured out so many things that I'd been taught about love, heard about love, read about love, were not love at all. That love is so much different than I think most of us know.
So wait a minute, let me get this straight. You mean all the songs, about love? I'm trying to see if I heard. I'm trying to see if I heard you right. So you mean tell me that all the songs you hear about love and the movies there about love is not really what love is?
I think that there are parts and pieces of love, but right, most everything you hear about love that is not right. It's not what love is.
Can you give me some examples?
Sure. So one thing that we hear about love often is that love is a two-way street. And love is not. Love is a one-way street. So if I give you money and you give me a pair of jeans, that's a transaction. If I give you love to get love, the two-way street love, then that's a transaction. That is not love. Love is 100% up to you and only you. We don't control other people. We have no control over anybody. When we have a baby, we have complete control, right? We bring that baby home from the hospital and we decide when that baby eats, when we bathe that baby, when we put that baby in the crib. But then a few months go by, 6, 7, 8 months, and pretty soon your Tupperware is all over your kitchen floor and your pots and pans are banging everywhere. And you realize you have lost total control and you will never get it back again. We only control ourselves. So love is something we control. The love that we give is 100% on us. The minute you start giving love to receive love and make it a transaction, that just leads to heartache and disappointment. And people will fail you in that. Your expectations will get you in trouble. But when you give love just because that's what love does, love gives, period, then it is the most freeing, wonderful experience. The best possible way you can live is to just give love freely with zero expectations of receiving anything in return.
That's kind of that's kind of interesting because I know of two popular songs that deals with what you're talking about, and both of them are titled Love on a Two-Way Street, and they kind of explain what that was. But after hearing you uh breaking down that concept, I'm like, oh my goodness, I never really thought about that if love is a two-way street, it's not really love, is something transactional, which means I'm expecting something in return. Is that right?
Right, right, right. Exactly. Exactly. But you
Okay.
have no control over that, right?
So let me ask you something. If I was to love someone, unconditionally, would that cause that other person to reciprocate?
Well, love is kind of special that way. And that quite often when you give it, you get it in return, but not always. And that's where the problem lies is if you are giving love to get love, you're not 100% sure that that's what's going to happen. Love typically does give love back. When people are loved, they want to love back. I mean, that's a typical
Mm.
response, but not everybody. And again, it's nothing that you can control. And so if you live that way and you're kind to people, you show love that is kind to people, hoping that then they'll do something kind back, that's not love. Just like as if you give love, your love should always be unconditional. That's one thing. The reason people put conditions on love is because you think that it's something that can come and go. Well, love isn't an emotion like fear or excitement. Fear comes and goes. Thank goodness fear comes and goes, right? You watch a scary
Mm.
movie and oh my word, that night you go to bed and every little sound you hear and you're living in that fear, but you don't stay there. You don't stay living in that fear or excitement. You go to the greatest party, you have so much fun, you go to Disney World, whatever, it's so exciting. We don't live in Disney World. You don't live in that excitement. Love is something you live in. Love is something you are. Love is walking, talking, giving, living, breathing. Love is all encompassing. It's not something that you go to the office and you hang it up in the coat closet, or you go home and you get it out until somebody leaves their underwear on the bathroom floor, then you take it back again. Love is constant. It's always there. It shouldn't be based on a condition of, well, I will love you if you love me, or I will love you if you behave in a certain way. Then that's not love. Then that's acceptance, or that's probably a whole lot of other words that you can put to it, but love is not one of them.
Yeah, I definitely hear that, all the time, and they say, okay, well, here are, the conditions, of our relationship. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, we're supposed to be in a relationship, not a contract. This sounds like a contract to me. I mean, I don't want to. It's like I'm signing my life away. This is crazy.
You're so right. You're so right. It's funny, right? And you think about it, like if we were to talk even just about couples love for a minute, and how you're attracted to somebody and you are infatuated by them, and you fall in love with them, and falling in love means you fall out of it, which is kind of a funny term to me too, but it's a term that people know. So you just, this love for this person you just have, and you cannot wait to spend the rest of your life together, and then you say I do, and then all of a sudden there you are in real life, and there's the dirty socks, and there's the pile of laundry, and there's the dishes in the sink, and then there's the, well, shoot, it's your job to take out the trash, well, you forgot to take out the trash, well, why did I get married, this guy's driving me crazy, all those little things that can happen, that all of a sudden we think, God, do we really love them? But love should not be based on what people do. You love the person for who they are, and and actions that are deep, that are meaningful, like you probably would never go to the store and steal a pack of gum, because that's who you are. You're an honest guy. You're not going to go to the store and steal a pack of gum. I'm not going to do it either. That's who you are. Leaving your socks on the floor, that's just a habit. That's something that you do, but it's not who you are. And so often we get wrapped up in the things that people do instead of the things that people are, that we think that our love should be conditioned on something, but it shouldn't. We love people because of who they are, and not because of the little things that they do that drive you crazy. So it shouldn't ever be taken away because there's something that's driving you nuts. Love should remain. Love should still be there. You can work through the other stuff, but the love remains.
Oh, you know what I kind of blame that on? I kind of blame that on the so-called reality TV shows, which I don't watch at all. I can't stand them. I'm probably I'm pretty sure some of the names I'm gonna bring up. Uh let's see, 90 Day Fiance, does that ring a bell?
It does.
Okay, Love and Hip Hop.
Oh yeah.
I don't watch them because I don't watch them because several reasons, and what you're talking about is definitely one of 'em. Another thing that I have a problem with is that there seems to be it seems to be two incarnations of feminism. Are you aware of that?
Tell me about that.
Um so um on one half of the spectrum you have this instance where uh you had this instance to where women are supposed to go outside of their traditional roles, which I don't have which I don't have a problem with that. If a woman wants to work in an auto mechanic shop, if she's trained properly, I don't see any problem with that. But that's not what the problem lies in. The problem that I have, with it is the expectations that they have on other people, especially when it comes to love. There are so many expectations and so many conditions, that people have to make that for some it's unrealistic. Like for example, I had to have a certain job, making a certain amount of money, have a certain car, have a certain house. For a lot of people, that's not realistic, to them. I'm sure you've been watching the news. We're dealing with an economic crisis here. Okay. And let's be real. A person that making $15 an hour in today's standards cannot even afford a one-bedroom apartment. So if we're basing love based on, what I have and what I don't have, I'm probably gonna be single for the rest of my life. You know,
Right.
and that part scales the that part, really concerns me, and that's where you have some feminists that, that's how they, talk, I gotta get mine, and I gotta have his too. That's not how that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Oh, and don't get me started about this 50-50 thing. That's a myth. If I give 50% here, you're supposed to give, 50% there. Nah, that doesn't work neither. But then some people would say, well, okay, I'm giving 80, but you only giving 20. Well, that's not gonna work neither. I mean, so how do you feel about that? Does that make sense to you? Or I'm
Yeah,
just
well, you said a
or I'm
couple
just
of things.
rambling.
Right. Yeah, you said a couple of things there. One is the whole 50-50 thing. I totally agree. Love doesn't have a number. You can't put a number on love. It's not 100-100. It's not 80-20. It's not 50-50. Love doesn't have a number. Love is love, period. Sometimes we make things so complicated when they're really, really simple. And sometimes we oversimplify things when you got to give a little bit more thought to it. But with the whole, feminism thing, whatever, I say live and let live. If somebody wants to do whatever job it is that they want to do, great. That's one of the beautiful things about love is that love, when you love, truly love the way love is supposed to be, you recognize that different opinions are great. There's nothing wrong with somebody having a different opinion than yours. If the whole world was full of me, it would be a boring place. Either that or I would be fighting with myself all the time. I'm not sure which, but it wouldn't be great. Like different opinions are good. That keeps us in check, that helps us out. And it's okay to have a different opinion. And love would say that that if you truly love the way you should love, then you love yourself enough to let yourself be who you believe you're created to be. So whatever job that is, whatever that means for you, that's what that means for you. And at the same time, you then let everybody else in the whole world be whoever it is they're created to be, whoever it is they believe they're created to be. And it can be so easy to be critical, right? To be judgmental, to condemn people for whatever. And with love, there's no judgment, there's no condemnation, there's no room for discrimination, there's no racism. There's only realizing that we are all walking our 2 feet on the same earth. We're all at the same level. And there is only beauty in our differences. And it doesn't mean you got to be everybody's best friend. Every personality isn't going to be a personality that you're going to go, wow, I just want to be with this person all the time, right? That's not going to happen. But you don't withdraw your love just because you're not wild about certain things about their personality. You might not like them, but you can still love people. And nobody has walked in the same two pair of shoes. Nobody. So there is only one of you. Keith, you are the only one that is exactly like you in the whole world. Whoever has been, whoever will be. You are the only one of you. So for me to judge you in any way is silliness because I haven't walked in your shoes. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what you've been taught. I don't know where you come from. Even if I'm a great friend of yours, I still can't judge you because I still have never walked in your shoes. Even if I've known you my whole life, you still have a different walk than I have. And you still have a different calling on your life, a different reason for being here, a different uh, identity. You're your own special, incredible, unique human being. And so for me to expect you to be any different than who you are, or try to put my what I want you to be on you is silliness. I love would say I want you to be who you are. That's the best thing that you can do is be who you're created to be and let others be who they're created to be. No
So
judgment.
so do you see a problem with that in terms of, being in a relationship and being in a marriage? Because, we have some people that say, well, if I can just, change this person, or confirm this person to, who I'm looking for, in a man or woman, would you consider that to be love?
I don't think you should ever go into a relationship thinking that you can change anybody. And whether it be a couple relationship or a friend relationship or a work relationship, any kind of a relationship. Um, I'll tell you, before I went on this journey, I was kind of the queen of unsolicited advice. I could look at somebody's life and go, man, if they just did this one thing, their life would be so much easier. Gosh, if I could tell them this or teach them that, then everything would be great for them. Like it would be so much better if they just did things my way. And then after going on this journey and really doing this deep dive into the true meaning of love, I realized that unsolicited advice is not welcome advice. People don't want to hear your advice. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. And even then, you need to be careful because we all are individuals, and the answer for me might not be the answer for you or for somebody else. So to go into a relationship thinking that you're going to change somebody, why? What love would say, why do you have to change them? If you have to change somebody, you feel compelled, you think that that's your job, your duty somehow. Maybe that's not the person for you. You find somebody that you're not looking to fix. It's not your job to fix anybody. You love somebody for who they are and love the differences. You work through the little stuff that has nothing to do with love. That stuff you work through. And but then at the same time, change is good in the way that hopefully I'm better at this than I was 10 years ago, this thing called life, and hopefully better than 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And so I hope that people give me the grace to change, to grow, to evolve, as I give everybody else the grace to change and evolve. I think sometimes of like even in my own family, I've got two brothers, and there are times we get together that I think, my gosh, you guys, I'm not 7 years old anymore. Yeah, I know, I blew it back then. Whatever, I took your sled away from you or whatever. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not going to take your sled. But we have to allow each other to not be 7 years old anymore. None of us are there. Every day should be a day of growth and change. And every year we should be able to look back on last year and go, God, what's better this year? What's different this year? What happened last year? And give each other that grace. And yeah, changing people. That's what do they say about fools? It's a foolish thing to do. You should to go into a relationship thinking that that's what you should do. That's not love. That is not love.
So there are a lot of books that talk about love, including the self-help books about love and relationships. And now do you have written a book called Love Is there a distinction between this book that you have written and then all the other books that talk about the same thing?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there are a lot of differences actually. Even the way I went about it, the poem that I mentioned, the love is patient, love is kind. There are actually 14 ises and isn'ts of love in that poem. And so it took me a little bit longer than a year because I truly focused on one per month. And I started out each month with what I thought I was going to find, because some seem so simple, right? Like patient, we know what patience is. We're not honking our horn if we're stuck in traffic, whatever. We're not mad because our kid lost their shoes and it's time to leave for school. We relax, we don't get all uptight. That's what patience is. But love that is patient is entirely different than that. I figured out that you put love is or love is not in front of any word, and it changes the meaning dramatically. And that all 14 of those isn's and isn't of love are so unique and so deep, so much information for each one that even knowing the truth about one or two of them is life changing. But to know all 14 and then see this beautiful umbrella that kind of covers it all with love, it's way different than any book I've read. A whole lot of books on love as I was preparing for this, and but I also wanted to just be very open to whatever doors opened to me as far as what love truly is. And so much that I've read in books is there's some great information out there, but it's not necessarily love. There's some great information about how to work through things and relationships and things like that, but they're not necessarily love, not the true definition of love.
Okay, so in your um quest to figure out what true love is, what's the meaning, of it, uh, is that described in this book?
It is. It is. I start out each chapter with what I think I'm going to find that month. And then I tell the story of what happens, what actually happens, the true story of what happens that brings me to realize the truth about that part of love that I was studying for the month. And I'll tell you, it's not a unicorns and rainbows kind of a love book. It is the true gritty stuff that happened to me in Haiti. I was chased by a motorcycle gang. I slept outside with snakes and tarantulas. I got lost on a mile-high mountain with a medical student. I had all these things happen. And always at the end of every month, it took me the entire month to really figure out any of them. And so I start with what I think it is, and then I tell the story, and that brings me to the conclusion and what the conclusion is for that aspect of love.
What was the inspiration behind this book? What inspired you to write this book?
Well, really losing my husband and wanting to know the truth about love uh, really inspired me. The fact that it's one of those things that just seems to be not well defined um, ever. Like you hear some things here and there that, wow, that sounds good, and that sounds good, and that works for them, and that works for her, that works for him, but not something that really works for everybody, and not something that is really the truth of it. And so uh, it was very interesting to me to figure out month after month after month how wrong I was, that a lot of what I'd been taught about love wasn't love. A lot of what you see in movies about love or books, songs, wherever, is not necessarily love. And what real love is, and how life changing it is to know the truth about love.
What are some of the myths that you have, run across to in terms of love and being in love and falling in love? What are some of the myths that you have, ran across?
Well, a couple of them we've already talked about, that love, there's not a number to love, and love is not a two-way street. Love is one way only. But love listens more than it talks. I think so often, I think about myself. So here I'm this single woman, my husband died when I was 47. And so I've been single for a few years. And so I've dated a little bit. And I'll tell you what, I hadn't dated since high school. I met my husband my senior year of high school. So it'd been a lot of years since I dated. And I don't know if it's different now or just because of my age, but sometimes I feel like I'm on a job interview. Like I'm the one doing the hiring. Like I go out with somebody, meet somebody and, go out for a cup of coffee or whatever, and then sit and just hear their life story or all their attributes on why I should hire them to be my date or whatever. I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing. And what I discovered is that like the very first month that I was doing this, the love is patient. Again, I thought I knew what patience was. We all kind of know what patience is, but I discovered that love that is patient is so different than patience. Love that is patience is love that you give to anybody. I believe you're supposed to love everybody. If you love everybody, it's just such a better way to live. But you love whoever it is you're with in a way that you realize that this is the most important moment of your life. What's in the past is in the past, and what's in the future is yet to come. This is the moment, and this moment will come and go with or without you. And if you love who you're with, you are 100% here, completely in this moment, rather than thinking ahead about a meeting that you have later or what you need to stop at the grocery store for on the way home, or even your rebuttal, the thing that you're going to say next. You are 100% engaged. And when you do that, when you show that love, you hear things in a whole different way, because you're not listening based on assumptions. You're not listening based on labels that you've put on somebody. You're truly hearing somebody's words. You're really listening and hearing what they have to say. And when you do that, it changes everything. It changes everything, because you learn things that you never would have learned. You hear things you never would have heard otherwise. When you're half listening, you're half loving. That's not love. There's no such thing as half love. So you're not loving. But when you're there and you're really listening, truly listening, that's love. That's love. And sometimes there doesn't need to be an answer. You don't need to be, you don't have to worry about, gosh, am I getting equal time here? And I'll tell you, when I was starting dating and going out and then just kind of listening, after a while, I realized, after I did this love thing, I thought, I'm listening wrong, because they obviously need someone to listen to them. And here I have this opportunity to be one-on-one with this person and get to know this person. And when I stopped being concerned about whether or not they'd ask me a question about myself, or whether they even knew my name, but just really listened, showed love that is patient, and just listened to what they had to say. It was fascinating. It's incredible meeting new people and finding out where people come from. I love that. I love hearing people's stories and the things that are important to them. It's wonderful to love that way.
So what is the key to a successful relationship?
The biggest key is to, first of all, know what love really is. Get rid of some of the things that you think you know about love that are not love. Get rid of that stuff. Reprogram your mind to understand what love truly is, and then love, period. Just love. Just love. That is the key. Several years ago, I was in a position with my husband where I thought, gosh, I don't know if I need this guy. We were married for a couple of years. We had a couple babies, and I'm changing all the diapers, and I'm doing all the laundry, and I'm making all the dinners and cleaning the house and working. I mean, I was overwhelmed. I just had so much going on. And he'd come home from work and he'd put his feet up, and then he'd wander over to the dinner table when I put food on the table, and he'd come and eat, and then he'd go back over to the TV and click through some channels, maybe fall asleep on the couch. And he just became a paycheck to me. I thought, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? It's like I have another kid around, somebody else I have to take care of, somebody else's laundry I'm doing. And do I really want this? Is this how I really want my life to be? Do I have to be in this marriage? But then it occurred to me, I wanted a happy marriage. I wanted a happy marriage. And I realized if I was going to have a happy marriage, it was up to me. It was up to me. So I decided right then that I was going to do everything I could to make this man happy, everything I could. And I didn't put a time limit on it. I didn't say, I'm going to do everything I can to make him happy for 6 weeks. And if he doesn't start helping me around the house, or if he doesn't show me more love, then I'm out of here. I didn't do that. I just said, I'm going to do whatever I can to make him happy. And so I would go to the grocery store and I'd buy his favorite snack, or I would write him a note before work, or make his favorite meal, anything that I could think of just to make him happy. And I'll tell you what, it was not long before things in our relationship changed dramatically and stayed that way. Because like we talked about, love has this special way of working that if you give love, the chances of receiving love back are pretty high, but I wasn't doing it to receive love back. That wasn't my motivation. My motivation was to make him happy. And he in turn did want to make me happy. He in turn did want to love me deeper. And that happened. But what happened even more so was my heart changed for him. I changed. My heart softened toward him. I realized the value of this incredible man, that he wasn't just a paycheck. He was so much more than that. And whether he ever helped with laundry or not, it had nothing to do with it. Those are the little things you work out in a relationship. But the love that you give should just be love that you give, period. It just should be love that you give. And when you do, great things happen. And I had an incredible marriage after that. And our marriage just grew better and better all the time. And that, I think, is the secret to a great relationship, is just give love, just love. Just love. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. But first, you have to know what love really is so that you know how to give it.
So I mean, we see a lot of relationships and marriages dissolve. And the number one reason I keep hearing why this is happening is because they said, I'm no longer happy with this person. We grown out of love, we went our separate ways. That's what I hear. Do
Right.
you think that they have a unrealistic expectation or of what love is? Because
Yeah.
you brought up some of the reasons why, you brought up some of the reasons why, people they start off loving each other, but then, they end up breaking apart because they said, I'm not happy. So do
Right.
they have like a false, sense of what love is?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think that that is a problem with a lot of relationships is, where do we learn love? We learn love from our parents, our grandparents, whoever it is that influences our lives, right? That's who we learn love from. Uh and not everything that's done in the name of love is love, or said in the name of love, or is called love, is love. And so when we get it's so easy, in a relationship, you start having kids or whatever, life gets busy, and you can start to feel a little disconnection. But it's easy to bring back again. You don't have to stay in the disconnection. We're all going to have moments where we feel closer than another moment. But if you then decide that it means that you don't love them like you did, or that you're going to withdraw your love, then it's not love that you're withdrawing. It's your it's more like it's you might be withdrawing yourself, your desire to be with somebody, but that's not love. That you're not showing love in that moment. You're just thinking that your needs maybe are greater than somebody else's needs, and or your desires, your wants, or you've changed what you like in somebody, or you changed what you think you're looking for. But the reality is, when you have somebody special in your life and you have said I do to that person and you've made a commitment to them, uh, whether you've made a commitment in a church or in a courthouse or in the woods, and it's on paper, not on paper, but you're in a committed relationship with somebody. Love is on you. Love is up to you. And if you decide that you want the kind of love that makes you happy, the kind of love that puts the butterflies in your stomach and brings joy to your life, that's easy. That's easy because you had it at one point in time, and all you got to do is draw on it again. All you got to do is go back to that moment, that time when, oh my word, they could do no wrong. You know how it's so funny, right? In relationships, it's like you overlook stuff. You overlook the little stuff for a long time because there are so many things that you love about this person because you love the person, not the things they're doing, but you love the person. And you could care less before you're married that they snore. And then 3 months into the marriage, it could be driving you crazy that they snore. Well, what is the difference there? Well, the difference has nothing to do with love. You love the person for who they are. The snoring is something they do that you might not like the snoring. No, nobody necessarily likes snoring, but that's not the person. The person happens to snore, but that's not who the person is. The person is honest and true and loving and kind. And there's a whole lot of things you can say about people, but they're not there snoring. They're not there putting whites and colored laundry together and coming out with pink socks and underwear. That's not who they are. That's not them. That's just something that they've done. And to separate that, to realize that love is love, period, not conditional on little things that people do, but because of who people are, then you can look at your relationship a whole different way.
Oh, this is love is talking about love is very complicated. So if you really want to know what the essence or the true meaning of love is, I do encourage you to get this book, Love Is by Kim Sorrelle. Um, and be open-minded because we can talk about that all day. Uh, but I also want to talk about another book that you have written. It's called Cry Until You Laugh. What's that about?
Well, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I went to the bookstore and everything was either very depressing or very medical. And I'd never been through it before. I didn't know anyone who had. I didn't know, are there choices to make? What's going to happen? What's it going to feel like? What do I do? I didn't know anything. And so I started writing at the very beginning as a way to update family and friends. I am going to the doctor tomorrow, whatever. But it was so much more than that. I wrote what I was going through, what I was feeling, what it was feeling like, and the medical, the physical, the emotional, the every part of it. And before I knew it, 5,000 people were reading what I was writing. And I wrote kind of when I felt like it, when I wanted to, and when I felt like I needed to. It was very therapeutic. But then I was still writing because I was still going through my journey when my husband was diagnosed with cancer. So I was writing during that time and then writing still when he passed away. And so I wrote for about a year. And so it deals with, both cancer and grief and being cared for and caretaking. And I named it Crying Until You Laugh because I really believe that's what you need to do. There were times after my husband was diagnosed that I would just start crying. We were home together. We had a great 6 weeks together, but I would just start crying and he would hold me, which is the perfect thing to do, by the way, exact right thing to do. but he would hold me and he would say, don't cry for me. Don't cry for me, cry for you. You're staying here. I'm leaving. You're staying here. And so don't cry for me. And uh, I know that with grief, with losing somebody, you lose the person, but you also lose the dream. I was going to be this 95-year-old woman next to this 99-year-old woman sitting on a porch and rockers, sipping lemonade and smiling at each other, or whatever it is that people in their 90s do, sitting on a porch and rockers. And all of a sudden at 47 years old, that was gone. My dream for my future, what I thought my future looked like, was over. And I know that so many people grieve and feel like you can't laugh again. Like it's almost disrespectful to the memory of the person that you lost, to enjoy life again, to laugh again, to find the joy. And I believe the opposite is true. I think it's disrespectful to stay in the sorrow. That of course, there are times I still cry. Of course, crying is good. And if you need to cry, cry. But it's also really good to laugh. And it's honoring to them that they meant so much in your life, that you have such a desire to enjoy life and to live the life that they no longer are here to live. And so cry until you laugh again.
Well, would that also apply to like maybe a mother-son relationship, a mother-daughter relationship, a parent-child relationship? Would that also apply, as well?
Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Everybody's grief is their own, right? And you can't grieve for somebody, and never, please never judge people who are grieving. Everybody's got to grieve their own way and figure things out. But I think we also have to give people permission. The people around us who have lost somebody, we have to give them permission to live without judging how they're grieving, without judging how they're living, without judging that they're laughing, that they're out having a good time. I've heard people be critical before, of people going, wow, they just lost their dad. And look, they're out, they're having a good time. What's wrong with them? Well, nothing is wrong with them. Nothing. They're living. They're here, and they're living, and they're honoring who they lost by living and not crawling into a hole and dying. Um, it's okay. Let people grieve however it is that they grieve, and let people be who they are, and realize that coming on the other side of that and being able to laugh again is healthy and good and wonderful, and hopefully everybody gets to that point.
I'm glad you mentioned that because 6 months today, um, my dad passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
6 months today. He died in June, uh, on June 4th. And a couple of months before that, uh, when I first took him to the hospital, he told me how proud he was of me because I cared about people more than I care, about myself. That I would give the shirt off my back to someone, that's in need. And for a while, he couldn't understand that. But at that particular time, he understood why I do what I do.
Mm.
And he wanted me to continue, to do that. Did I cry? Yes, I did. I did more than one, occasion. But after that, I went right back to work. The the podcasting, running a business, running a nonprofit organization, doing community organizing work. I went back to do what I do best because that's what he wanted me to do.
What a beautiful way to honor
He
him.
wanted it. He said, "You're the happiest when you do those things."
Mm,
And those was his last words.
wow. Wow, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. You had a wonderful dad. You can tell I don't know what he was like your whole life, but in that moment, for him to say some of the most important, beautiful words, that's incredible.
And this is kind of like the whole thing that that you was talking about. And I have to mention it because it is so relatable to to your book. That I too, even though I'm the host of this podcast, that I can be accountable and I can be transparent,
Mhm,
as well. I think that makes for, and I can be vulnerable as well.
mhm.
And so I definitely want to, thank you for sharing these writings, with us. I think it's very important. Please get these two books. They are so life changing and very inspirational. And I think it's about time that we kind of bring those stories to life, because we know the mainstream media is not going to do it. That's why we're here, to bring those type of stories to life, because they need to be said. Who knows that somebody may be watching or someone may be listening, they too may have a story to tell, and we want to hear it. And so with that, I'm quite sure with all of this wisdom, that you have, that you also have a lot of speaking engagements.
I do speak. I'd love to speak more. I'm pretty passionate about the things that I learned about love. I know the lives that have changed already. I love getting the mail, the email from people that have read either one of my books and have applied things to their lives, and the things that it's changed in their lives. And I love hearing the stories, and I just know that there are more people that can be touched. And uh, I feel like I've done everybody's homework for them. You don't have to go live on the streets of Haiti for a year to figure it out. Uh, you can just read the book and understand a lot more. And I do love being in touch with people and hearing from people and speaking and getting out there and telling more people. So yes, I'm open for whatever opportunity comes my way.
You also a director of a humanitarian organization. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, Rays of Hope International. We're a partnering organization. So we work with people in their own country who have a passion, a vision, a mission to do something to help their own country and just need somebody to walk alongside. So there are people that already understand the culture and the language and the real need, but they need help with a business plan to make sure that the path that they're going on is right. Or if it's a school, they need desks and pencils and books. You can't have a medical clinic without the supplies that you need and a building to be housed in. And so whatever it is that people need, uh, to give that helping hand to help them see their dream come true, and with always leading towards self-sustainability, so that in the nonprofit world, and you work in nonprofit as well, you know how much of it can be chasing dollars to get the funding that you need to do the thing.
Oh yeah, I've been there and done that. And then every year you have this this big day called Giving Tuesday. I hate it. I hate it. I really hate it. And I'm not gonna get into that. But I need to
We
probably
hear you. We could probably have a long conversation about that one.
oh yeah.
I know where you're coming from for sure.
Oh yeah. But I probably need to reach out to you as well because, there are some things that, I would like to do as a nonprofit, but I need some, direction and maybe some help. Like for example, I need a building to operate from, for example, or I need a van to transport things. I deal with a lot of senior citizens who, can't get out to, get stuff like food. We know in my city that we are that I am broadcasting from that there's a lot of food drives and drives for supplies like when we was dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we had a lot of seniors that cannot drive to these places because they're not able to drive, even they don't have a vehicle or they're not capable of driving, so they kind of miss out on all those things.
Mhm.
And so in the past I was able to bring those resources to them, but now I am kind of struggling to do that, and I kind of need help with that.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you about possibilities and for sure.
Okay. Just I mean, I thought I should ask. There's a saying, "You have not because you ask not."
That's right. That's
So
right.
I'm asking.
Yep,
I'm asking, anybody that would listen to me, and actually, help. So, I did it. So we'll see what happens.
right, right. Yeah, it might be good to even do a GoFundMe page. So people have a place that they can go right now and give a donation to help you out with that.
I'm not too I'm not gonna say I'm skeptical, about that. I'm not skeptical. I'm just a little bit concerned because, you have a whole lot of people, you have a whole lot of GoFundMe pages,
Mhm.
that are out there that is someone's preference, who to give to. It's almost like your story just gotta be so compelling, that uh they will want to give. Unfortunately, I'm not very good in writing a compelling story. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm not very good in doing that.
Well, I can tell you, you just spoke a very compelling story. And so you can video a very compelling story too, or just tape it. I mean, what you had to say is very compelling. And it's so true. I think a lot of things that people don't think about are that seniors don't have a way to go get the things that they need. And for you to be wanting to and doing it is amazing. But yeah, you need the tools you need to make it happen. And maybe it's not a GoFundMe page, but the people that are listening that right now say, yes, oh my gosh, I want to help. I want to help Keith. How can I help? You just need to have, it would be great if you had something. If it's not a GoFundMe page, then it's a website they can go to, or it's somewhere they can go to be able to donate. Because you know how it is. People hear about something, and unless they act on it right away, it can leave their mind. But right now, you just told it so beautifully. And speaking about your dad, and then who you are as a person, and then what you've been doing to try to help people that want to give money, to give them a place to be able to do that is awesome. Would be incredible to do.
And the reason why I say that is because
I show you on mute. Keith, I show that you're muted.
The little bit of money I have on, on medicine, and we know healthcare in this country, is crappy. Let's just put it that way. It's real, it's real crappy. Everybody does not, have access to, quality medical care. And it's recently in the news, we, learned that we learned that, Congress, is trying to get the railroad workers, back to work on some mediocre contract, and they can't even get no sick days off. But you have members of Congress, they can take off a sick day whenever they feel like it.
Mm,
You and I are not worthy of that. That is pathetic. That
yeah,
is that is that is pathetic. So if they're doing that, if the government is doing that, against working families, imagine what's in store for you and I, or maybe a senior citizen who's on limited income. And they say, well, we're gonna look after you, we're gonna take care of you. I mean, what is that?
right, right. Yeah, it's tough.
So, and another thing I have a problem with, another thing I have a problem with is that we have a lot of nonprofits. There, it's like they are competing against one another. To see, who's the best, who's doing more, who has the coolest staff, who raised the most money. I mean, cry me a river. I cannot stand, that. And while we're doing that, a lot of people are being neglected. Their needs are not being met, all because we're fighting among each other, trying to find out who's the best, who raised the most money, who's doing more of the work. It's not, it's not about that. In fact, a nonprofit organization is not even about you. And then it was brought to my attention that some people, are starting nonprofits, organizations just so they can profit off of it.
Mm,
And I was like, well, it's not a nonprofit organization if you're trying to profit off of it. It's not a nonprofit, and I got people, laughing at me. I said, okay, fine, laugh all you want, but don't call crying to me when the IRS knock at your door.
right.
Uh, these are we you so remember when the PPP loans was given out, a lot of people defrauded the government,
Mm,
and a lot of these people that had, that said that they had businesses did not have businesses or nonprofits, at all. They spent that money on themselves. And then the majority of that money, went to the big corporations. Some of them are multi-million dollar corporations. They didn't need that money, but they got it anyway. They say, oh, we love helping people. We love doing that. I'm like, stop lying. I was like, y'all lying. And
yeah,
their time would come when they're gonna have to be their time would come when they're gonna have to be accountable for what they have done. Mark my word, y'all will be held accountable. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week or next month or next year, but one of these days, y'all will be held accountable for your actions. That's just anything, not just business, but life itself.
right. Right. So true. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad to think about, but it's also nothing that we can control. I mean, you and I, we just have to do things the way we know is right, what we believe to be true and right. And I think there's a whole lot of more people like us that are just trying to do our part. If everybody did something, just think about how the world would be if everybody did something. If everybody did something to help someone, we would be in such a different place. And that's what love is it's giving, it's doing what you're doing. It's not for money, but it's out of love, the love and compassion that you have for people. That's why you want to help them, and you see the need. And we all need to learn from you. We all need to open our eyes more and see the needs around us and fulfill one. Help people out, help somebody out. And I think sometimes people don't, because they don't know where to go. They don't know where to start, or they think it's going to take so much time, or whatever. There can be all kinds of reasons that people give to not do something, but it can start with your neighbor. Do you have somebody living in your building or in your neighborhood that can't get out for groceries, that you could easily do their grocery shopping when you're doing your own, and help them out? Or even when you're at the grocery store and you see an elderly person who's having a hard time getting their cart to their car and their groceries inside their car, to help them out. There's so many things that we can do to help each other and support each other and love each other. And it all starts with us. It all starts with you and me, and keeping our eyes open and seeing what we can do to help people.
So throughout this whole conversation, you mentioned something about love is patient and love is kind. Uh, that's actually comes from First Corinthians chapter 13 in the Bible. And
Right.
I would be remiss if I didn't read this entire chapter. It's like 13 verses. It speaks of this. If I speak in tongues of men and angels and but have no love, I'm a noisy gong or a clinging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have no love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have no love, I gain nothing. Going to the fourth verse, excuse me. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with truth. Love bear all things, believe all things, hope all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I've been fully known. It speaks of love again. So now faith, hope, and love abide. But these three, but the greatest of these is love. Now, why is there so much emphasis on love in this chapter?
Love is everything. Love is everything. If you have love, if you know love, if you live love, you give love, then everything else falls into place. If you were to ask yourself, with every choice you made, everything you said, every decision, whatever it is in your life. If you were to ask your life, WWLD, what would love do? And you answer that way, you're going to do the right things.
Okay, that is so profound. But listen, we're gonna have to wrap this up. It was really great. Uh, I don't know, there may be a part two. Um, because we know in a couple of months, Valentine's Day is coming.
Mhm.
Yeah. So and we know, what that's about, at least, what we've been taught. And so with that, I really believe there needs to be a part two to this. So hopefully we can get you back on, right around that time to kind of expound on some more of these things, and tell us how your book is going and a whole bunch of other stuff. But if someone wants to get in touch with you, I know you got a nonprofit, if somebody needs help, if they want to purchase your book, how are they able to get in touch with you?
Well, Love is the name of the book. And so Love is pretty easy to find. It's a kind of a dark blue cover with big white letters, Love is. And it's available in brick and mortar stores like Barnes and Noble, but it's available online like Amazon and every other bookseller. And so it's pretty easy to find. I am running a holiday deal on my website right now that I will personally autograph and put a personal note from you in a gift that will be gift wrapped and sent. And so that's available on the website. It's $25. That includes everything. It includes the book, the gift wrapping, the mailing, the everything. And so it's a nice, wonderful gift to give, the gift of love. And I have that available on my website. You can get to loveis.info or kimsorrelle.com. I'm literally the only Kim Sorrelle spelled my way in the entire world, but it's a little difficult to remember because my last name is a bit obnoxious. It has way too many letters, 2 R's, 2 E's, 2 L's, SORRELLE, kimsorrelle.com. But I am on social platforms. I love hearing from people. I love helping any way that I possibly can. I love people. I truly love people. I love you. And so please reach out. And I do have for free, a 14-day love challenge on my website that you can sign up for. It's free to sign up for it. It just every day gives you something to think about the truth about love for 14 days. And if you sign up for it, I will send you for free a WWLD, What Would Love Do wristband. And please reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
Wish I can say the same thing about me. Keith Williams is just a too common, of a name. It's too many of us.
Yeah, you're not the only
Too many
one.
of us with that. It's too many of us with that name. So,
Maybe you need to spell Williams with a Z on the end or something.
uh, well, I wish I can do that, but
Oh,
now, what we do always with our guests is that our guests will have the last word. So, if there's a last word that you would like to share with the audience.
I would love to. I would love to. We're coming upon the holidays, and it's so easy sometimes to say, "Oh, I love everybody, but those darn Republicans," or "I love everybody, but those Democrats." Let's get rid of the labels this year. Let's all do this together. This love revolution. Let's make it happen. And it starts with getting rid of labels. Let's take the labels off people and see people just for who they are and love people for who they are and let people be who they are. And love yourself. Love yourself. You're unique. You're the only one of you. If the Mona Lisa went up for sale, who knows how many millions and millions and millions of dollars somebody would pay for the Mona Lisa because it's one of a kind. And so are you. You are one of a kind. You are special. There is nobody that has ever been like you, nobody that ever will be like you. You are the only one of you. And so love yourself and love others and get rid of the labels, and let's have a great holiday season.
Well, there you have it, another pearl of wisdom in our midst. Kim, I just want to thank you for being on the show today. And I actually see the title behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I actually see the title behind you.
Here it is closer.
Okay. So see, I knew it. I knew that this book, was based on First Corinthians 13. I knew it.
You're so smart. It is.
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm smart. I'm not going to say that. I would say that that was revealed to me by the Holy Spirit.
Mm, amen. Amen. That's good.
So, when you immediately said, love is patient, love is kind, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds so familiar.
Mm,
But it's easier said than done, but it sounds so familiar. I cannot thank you enough for being on the show today. It was definitely a dose of inspiration. And I hope it was a dose of inspiration to you as well, the audience. But that would do us for today on The Works. I'm Keith Williams, your host. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to tune in. Tune again next Sunday. We have another great guest that will be with us next Sunday. So I hope that you will tune in. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend.